Retro.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall, voice of Hera and Rook Cast, and you're listening to Dennis and Jay on Podcast Stardust. Their behavior is continually unexpected.
Hello, and welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And it's time for a look at this week's Star Wars news. But first, Jay, you remind everybody where we can be found around the internet?
Absolutely. Very easy to find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Podcast Stardust.
All right. The disc is aligned. The signal's boosted to maximum output. The shield's down. We are now broadcasting to the galaxy. So, before we get into the news, we actually have some of our own news to announce. And that is that, Jay, we have partnered with Saber Masters, which is a manufacturer of replica lightsabers. And the great thing about these, Jay, is that they are specialized for saber dueling. You can wail a wail at each other with these. I mean, there's a lot of great lightsabers out there that look fantastic and they are very ornate, but they don't hold up well under the stress of dueling and sparring with them. But these are designed for that. These sabers are made for you to smack them against each other, smack them against the wall, anything, and they are durable and are going to stand up to the punishment.
Yes, and I'm super excited for this, and I'm looking forward to wielding these and enjoying the balance too, because I know with doing some of the spins and tricks and that type of thing too, some of the other sabers just don't really have that nice balance, and you just don't get into a really nice, kind of a flow with that kind of a thing. And I've even seen these things being whacked up against the side of a tree. So they're really durable and they're sleek, and there's a lot of different types of hilts available and different metals available. So yeah, this is big news for us. That's for sure.
Right. Some of the features of the lightsaber that we're talking about here, we're talking about the Ultra Saber 2.0, which they are getting ready to roll out. You can pretty much customize the color of the blade to anything you want. And that's not something you have to decide in advance. The color is changeable on each lightsaber. And they each boost a suite of 16 different sound effects. So you can make it sound like a lot of the lightsabers that you've heard in the movies as well. On top of that, so here's the deal. They are not currently in stock. They are rolling out at the end of this month, the beginning of March. But if you go to sabermasters.com, you can buy two for the price of one. And what's really cool is you can link them together and use them as a double-bladed lightsaber. On top of that, if you use our referral code, Stardust, at checkout, you'll save an additional $10. And on a personal note, that helps support the show for each purchase that is made using that referral code. So head over to sabermasters.com and check it out. And we'll have a link for this in the show notes.
Definitely. Yeah. Super excited to share this with everybody. And, now the word is out. So please share that news with your friends and, Saber Masters as well.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and dive into the news. And the lead off for our news tonight is sad. Carl Weathers, Greef Karga himself, passed away at the beginning of the month at the age of 76. It seems like it was unexpected. Reports are that he died peacefully in his sleep and he had family around him. And I mean, I don't know, Jay, I hadn't heard anything about him being sick, and I hadn't heard anyone else say that he had been as well. So this was a huge blow at the beginning of the month.
Yes, it was shocking, honestly. And I had just seen Carl Weathers in an ad for something, and he was looking buff. Like, he was looking good, he was looking healthy. I just saw him just last spring at Fan Expo Cleveland. He seemed really spry, really healthy, and it's just so sad and so unfortunate. So many wonderful tributes out there on Instagram from, everyone that co-starred with him on all the shows and just everyone sharing their memories. So yes, it's just very, very shocking indeed.
Right. And the other thing that floored me is that he was 76. This is a man
Yeah.
who did not look like he was 76. I met him in person and got his autograph back at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim in 22. And if you'd asked me to guess his age, without time to think of it, I would have said late 50s, maybe early 60s or something like that. But
Mhm.
so I don't know, this just really caught me off guard. And I was really floored by this. I mean, we all remember him, of course, most recently as, Greef Karga and the Mandalorian, as I said already, but he's also known, of course, as Apollo Creed from the Rocky franchise. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, Jay, but back in the 80s, I watched those movies all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, I want you. I want you. That's how he came onto the floor at Star Wars Celebration Chicago back in 2019, doing that. And, he was larger than life at that Mandalorian panel where they were, giving us our first look at that show. And, as you said, everyone's putting all these nice tributes out to him, but he was just generally great to everyone as I saw it out there.
Oh, he really was, and, he just had an energy and a joie de vivre that was really unparalleled, and he just had such a passion for everything that he did.
Mhm.
Like you said, when he would come out on stage or, just to meet him, he was just so incredibly gracious, and, one of I think it was Emily Swallow, I wanna say, that said, "If there was anyone that I thought that would live forever, it was Carl Weathers." It
Oh,
was either yeah, and it was either her or Katie Sackhoff, one of the 2 of them, that had said that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm
yeah.
just crushed."
Did you see Sylvester Stallone's tribute to him?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I caught this on Instagram, and Stallone was, I guess, maybe at home in front of a bar, but on the wall behind the bar was a painting of Rocky and Apollo throwing a punch at each other. I think which was inspired by the
Oh,
end of a
mm,
Rocky 2 or 3, I can't remember, or 3, I guess. And you could just see him holding back the tears, talking about how much
mm.
Carl Weathers meant to him and how, Sylvester Stallone's success would not have been possible without Carl Weathers in his life and being such a big part of the Rocky franchise. So,
Oh
uh,
gosh, that's heartbreaking.
yeah, it really was. But so we'll miss Carl Weathers. I have no idea what the future was for Greef Karga. I don't know if I'm doubting at this point they'll recast. They'll probably just alter whatever scripts they've got to accommodate that. I know
Mhm.
Dave Filoni paid tribute to Carl at the Saturn Awards when he won that. I don't want to necessarily call it the Lifetime Achievement Award, but that award that he got that we talked about last week
Oh,
as
right.
well.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
but yeah, so it will be an absence in the Mandoverse going forward.
Oh, indeed.
Well, let's try and move on to some happier topics. And up next, we have a release date, kind of, for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Mhm.
So Bob Iger was just doing an earnings call with investors, and he was talking about all kinds of projects that were coming out in the next couple of years under the Disney umbrella. So, so we're talking about animated releases from Disney and Pixar and stuff going on with Marvel. Well, naturally, the topic of Star Wars movies came up, and he confirmed that The Mandalorian and Grogu are coming out in 2026. Okay, he wasn't any more specific than that, but the current Disney movie release calendar has 2 slots for 2026, the one for May 22nd and the other for December 18th.
Mhm.
Plus, I was looking at that, and there is a placeholder for another Star Wars movie on December 17th, 2027.
I see
So,
that.
yeah. So that makes about sense, I guess. This has been the next confirmed movie, so I'm guessing maybe the new Jedi Order will be the second one coming out that December. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And, I'm looking at all these other ones too with all these dates, and of course I'm like, "Squirrel, squirrel, what could this be? What could this be?" But of course, our focus being Star Wars, I can totally see that, those 2. But I'm intrigued at the May one because, I
Hmm.
mean, maybe that could be the Rey movie, The New Jedi Order, but there's 2. So that's intriguing.
Right, and they've been talking about this being the next movie to go into production, and they
Mhm.
were a whole lot more definitive about this movie going to production than when they're talking about the new Jedi Order movie, the Rey Skywalker movie going into production. So if I had to bet, my guess is this is going to fill the Mandalorian and Grogu, that is going to fill that May 2026 spot. And
Mhm.
then whatever Ray Skywalker movie we're getting is going to come out in December, unless they shuffle things again. But it
Right.
just seems like the James Mangold movie and the Mando verse movie that Dave Filoni is going to do, I feel like those just aren't ready yet, based on what they want to do with all these projects set during that time period. And
Right.
Mangold's got other things he's got to do first. So
Yeah. Yeah, and Eric Davis even, updated the tweet and said, as you put in our notes here, that Mando and Grogu can be either May or December.
mhm.
And because they had some other updates in there too with some names of different feature films and whatnot. So that's just so great to see it in print. It feels like it's even more real, like,
Mhm.
like we've been talking about it and speculating and oohing and eyeing, but now to see it actually like, oh my gosh, like it's on the docket.
Right. I I hate to be a downer about this, but I would not be entirely surprised to see there no Star Wars movie comes out in May 2026. That the next Star Wars is not until that December 2026 time slot. But
Mhm.
we'll see. I mean, we've missed all kinds of dates already. So,
Yeah, and
but
as we've seen plenty of times, there's things that can
yeah,
happen that can push it back, and we
right.
can never predict.
So yeah, not to be a downer, not to be a pessimist, but I'm just trying to be a realist about this. And
Mhm.
so, hey, 2026, I'll take it.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
okay. Well, now this next item we've got has to do. I'm not even exactly sure what this is, other than the fact that today, the 8th of February, was when we're recording this for an episode that's going to come out on the 9th. Empire Magazine is teasing on social media something most likely having to do with Star Wars, seemingly having to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And what am I talking about? Jay, I know you've seen this. It is
Yeah.
an image. It's a star field. It's got the blue long time ago in a galaxy far, far away script. And it says, hello there, dot, dot, dot. And then the caption that they have for it is tomorrow, 4 p.m. And that's 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So London time. So it'll be, I guess, what, like 11, 10 a.m. here? That something is
Okay.
going to happen at Empire, most likely having to do with Star Wars. I'm guessing by the hello there, and I know a lot of people are, that it has something to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a lot of people are anticipating some sort of announcement about either another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi or some series having to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi, most likely coming to Disney Plus, but we just don't know. It could be anything. They could be announcing some feature they're doing in the magazine. But given the way they announced it, I'm gonna be really disappointed if it's anything other than a new Obi-Wan Kenobi project coming to a screen
Yeah.
somewhere. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest tease ever. I mean, everyone
Mhm.
knows, "Hello there, General Kenobi." I mean, that's just the thing, unless it's the Chronicles of General Grievous,
Right,
things like
right.
that. It's just completely throwing us off. But yeah, I mean, and we just talked about, I think it was last week actually, when we had a little news on Ewan McGregor, and he was talking about how he was quote unquote open to doing another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as we know, he's been kind of coy in the past about his involvement because he couldn't say anything, of course, but that it was already in the works, and he had to be really really sly about it all the time until he was finally able to talk about it. So maybe this is something along those lines. We'll see. I'm
You
excited.
saying that actually just gave me an idea.
Okay.
What if Obi-Wan Kenobi is the subject of the next season of Tales of the Jedi?
Ooh, that would be cool. But do you think
And
that they would tease something like that in Empire Magazine? Because Tales of the Jedi, as much as we love it, it's not as mainstream, I hate to say, as, a lot of these other projects have been.
all I know is I'm expecting disappointment. Is what it's so that when there isn't a major announcement tomorrow and everyone is fiercely throwing anger at Empire on social media
Oh,
over
they
this.
already are. Did you see the
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, that that I won't be severely disappointed. I mean, I'm getting my hopes up already for another season of some sort of live action Kenobi project in there, but I'm also trying to think of alternatives that would make
Mhm.
sense. Yes, I agree with you. If you're going to go about this type of a tease and you got to know what kind of reaction you're going to get to that. You can't be that naive if you're
Mm,
Empire Magazine. You better pay off on that.
right.
I have
Yeah.
seen some question about, well, would Lucasfilm really announce something through Empire? Okay, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't. So I don't know, but um, yeah, that's what that's what I'm hoping for. But we'll see what happens.
Well, and I mean, Empire Magazine has had a lot of the previews for all
Hmm.
of the different types of projects and things like that. So, I mean, I can kind of see maybe pairing with them over that. But yeah, I was looking through some of these comments and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like everybody says, I'm just here for the comments. It's been
Hmm.
very entertaining. I'm also loving all the little memes and things that people are putting in here too.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to wade into that dumpster fire, go for it. I jumped out as quickly as I got into it because, oof, yeah, yikes.
Hmm.
So anyway, well, so all that being said, we're recording this before that announcement's made. This episode might actually come out after that announcement, but we just aren't going to have time to get it covered in this week's news.
Right.
So if assuming it is something significant and not disappointing, then we'll be covering it on next week's news.
And there you go.
All right, moving along. Up next, we have the news that Ahsoka is getting a comic adaptation from Marvel Comics. It'll be written by Rodney Barnes, with pencils by Steve Cummings and Georges Genti, and it'll be an 8-issue series arriving in July. I'm kind of excited about this. I've been reading the Mandalorian adaptation as they've been releasing them in Marvel Unlimited. I haven't been picking up the episodes as they've been coming out fresh. And it's just kind of a fun way to go back and revisit that series. So I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to do this with Ahsoka. I mean, they've also done it with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, but what do you think?
Oh yeah, this is fantastic. And I'll be honest, I have not had the opportunity to consume these other comic adaptations, but from what everybody has said and especially from what you've said, that they are really awesome. And so I would definitely be up for it. And I'm glad that they're coming out in July because, selfishly, I have a little bit more time in the summer than I do, during the school year. So it's really good timing for me. And it's definitely something that I'm very interested in. And if it's going to be my first comic adaptation, I'm excited for it to be Ahsoka.
Well, and the other thing is that you can see this announcement over on StarWars.com if you want. And they have a preview of some of the variant covers for the first issue. And some of them are just gorgeous. I really like the one with Morgan Elsbeth in the foreground, and then Ahsoka posed behind her, or the Ahsoka's bust, I guess, say in the background of
Mhm.
that one. There's a great one of Sabine on her speeder bike that we saw in that first episode of Ahsoka, and then a third one of Ahsoka with her blades, and then you get Sabine, Hera, and Professor Huang, Balin Skull, and Shin Hati kind of down the corner. Some really, really great covers. There's some of these I'm going to keep my eyes open for and may get just to put it in a frame and hang it on my wall.
Yeah, that last one that you were talking about with all the major characters is absolutely gorgeous. That
Hmm.
is definitely one that's frame worthy because you've got, like you said, all the major characters and just the way that it's set up with Sabine's hair, just kind of flying almost like flames, and then Ahsoka in the foreground with her blades, and as you said, the other characters is just it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what they do when they say get to issue 5 and we have our World Between Worlds meeting with
Yes.
Anakin. What kind of covers we're going to get for that?
Oh man, I could just
No,
see these just framed all over my wall.
well, and not to mention, the following one when Thrawn showed up in the series.
Mhm.
It would be really cool if they had something like that last one we were just talking about that has Ahsoka and Thrawn and Ezra and everybody on it as well. They could do some really fantastic things with that. So, but
Oh,
this
yeah,
art is
for
just really
sure.
great. They picked some great artists for this.
And how many issues did you say this was gonna be?
8.
9? Okay, so for one for each of the episodes, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
So
Nice.
be looking for that in July. All right. Well,
Yay.
the last bit of news we got for the week is that Jedi Survivor wins a Grammy of all things. Uh, it won the award for Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media, which is given to the best composers and quotes for an original score created specifically for or as a companion to video games, and other interactive media. So a little redundant there, but there we go.
Oh, yeah.
The creators of that soundtrack were Stephen Barton and Gordy Hobb, and they beat out Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy, and Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Okay, Jedi Survivor is the only one on this list that I actually played and had any familiarity with. I gotta admit, I really couldn't remember the soundtrack. Of the video games I played last year, the one that I thought had the best soundtrack was Baldur's Gate 3, but it didn't even make the finals for this
Mm.
one. Had you listened much to the soundtrack?
I do because Colby-Wan is all about the gaming soundtracks.
Okay.
And so, on his Spotify, whenever we're together and he's got, the shuffle going on, depending on whatever kind of music mood he's in, he plays a lot of this stuff. And so he actually did have the Jedi Survivor as well as the Call of Duty on there as well. He's always been a Call of Duty
Okay.
soundtrack fan, definitely. And all the soundtracks actually. And Baldur's Gate, I'm with you on that one. It's beautiful. There's so many great things on that. But it goes all the way back to, things like Undertale for Colby. I mean, that he's introduced me to. So I've kind of paid attention to a lot of that. And I will say that I do remember the score for Jedi Survivor from watching the cutscenes. And
Okay.
it's so well deserved. I mean, the soundtrack is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, I think for me, I just got caught up in the action
Sure.
and of that, and I haven't played it through a second time since I played it the
Mhm.
first time. That being said, I've gone back over the past 4 days and started listening to that soundtrack, and it's long. I can't
It
it's
is.
got, like, 40 tracks or something like that, and a lot of them are 5 to 8 minutes, and so I just haven't had an opportunity to get through the whole thing, but I'm really enjoying it. It sounds very John Williams-esque,
Mhm.
and to me, there's a lot of them that are kind of a blend between what John Williams does and John Powell does, and I was thinking more specifically of stuff like How to Train Your Dragon and a bit of what he did with the score for Solo, A Star Wars Story, and then
Okay,
there's
yeah,
other things that reminded me of, Michael Giacchino and the work he did for Rogue One.
I could see that.
So,
Yep, good call.
all of that is a long, convoluted way of saying it sounded very Star Warsy.
Yes, it does. And it's definitely worth a listen to. I mean, even if it's just something that you've got in the background while you're doing some other things, it's a good one. It really is. Highly suggest it.
Yeah, the other thing that occurred to me while I was listening to that is that, Kiner did a good job of bringing some John Williams notes into what he did for Clone Wars, Rebels, and now Ahsoka.
Mhm.
But it it definitely has its own flair to it, its own personality to it that still sounds like Star Wars. But yeah, this I think definitely skews closer to what John Williams did. So
I would agree. Yes, and
mhm,
they all have their own little, as you said, kind of flavor to them, so to
mhm.
speak, that just it fits whatever it is that it is soundtracking. Does that make sense? But
Sure. We're
there you
making
go.
all kinds of words up tonight.
It's the Podcast Artist Dictionary, page 74. There you
There we go.
go.
All right. Well, then, congratulations to Jedi Survivor for winning a
Mhm.
Grammy of all things. That's pretty cool.
Indeed.
And hey, actually, it just occurred to me this is only the second year they've been giving out Grammys for video games. So
Oh,
it's too
wow.
bad because retroactively, there's a lot of games that could pick up some Grammys. That would be awesome. But
Yeah, I guess I never really paid attention to that. I just kind of always assumed that, that was a thing, but wow,
mhm,
trailblazer too on top of it. Nice.
indeed. Okay, well then that'll do it. This is we'll wrap up our look at news for the week here on Podcast Stardust. We hope you've enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on your podcatcher choice. I also like to remind you to find all episodes of the show over on archersapp.com, which is home to all the other great podcasts on the network. And as always, we greatly appreciate your 5-star ratings and reviews on whatever podcatcher it is that you use, especially if that's Apple Podcasts. And please don't forget to share the show and your favorite episodes on social media with your friends. So, with that having been said, Jay, I want to remind everybody where we can be found around the internet.
Sure thing. Pretty easy to find us. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Podcast Stardust. And we've got a lot of stuff going on over on our YouTube, all of our episodes, as a matter of fact. And we're also on YouTube Music now as well. So head on over to both, like and subscribe. And if you are up for some real time chatter, we do have a Discord room on the RetroZap Discord server. And the link for that is in our show notes. And you can also just go to our show page and click on our community tab, and it'll take you right to where you need to go. And we also have a TeePublic store, and that link will be in our show notes. And we would love it if you would pick up something from there. We have 7 different show logo designs available, and all of that does help to support the show. And as we were saying at the top of the show, we are now partnering with Saber Masters, and our referral code is in our show notes, as well as you can go straight to www.sabermasters.com/discount/Stardust. So again, just Stardust is the promo code, and that will get you that special code or that special money off that we talked about at the top of the show. So with that, Dennis, why don't you let everybody know what you got going on, past, present, and future, with any other projects such as podcasting and the like?
Just peeking its head over the horizons is the next season of Discovery, which will be the 5th and final one. My wife Beth and I will be covering that on our Star Trek podcast, which is known as Warp Trails and is exclusive to the RetroZap podcast feed. So just head to your podcast of choice, look up the RetroZap feed, and you will find all episodes of it there. If you want some back episodes, head over to retrozap.com. You got anything going on in cosplay, Jay?
Well, right now, just kind of maintaining the same at J.Snips Cosplay. So you can always catch me as Ahsoka, as Hera, the fourth sister from the Kenobi series. Hey, maybe she'll show up in the next series. Who knows?
There you go.
If there is one. And so just having a heck of a lot of fun over there and looking forward to a spring full of fun cons. So again, that's at J.Snip Cosplay.
Okay, upcoming on the show on Monday, we are getting back into some comics with a discussion of the High Republic Shadows of Starlight, which was written by Charles Soule. And then on Wednesday, we're getting into Legends, a special Valentine's Day episode discussion of the courtship of Princess Leia. So that'll do it for episode 688 of Podcast Stardust. Have a great weekend, and until next time, may the Force be with you.